All right, I think let's start. People can join, and I'll otherwise take the question and answers towards the end. So I'll try to talk for a good about 20-25 minutes, and then the floor would be open for everyone to ask questions. So right now the microphones and the cameras have been disabled. So what we are going to do is that we are going to I'm going to finish up the webinar in 20-25 minutes, hopefully, inshallah. And then I'll ask, if you have any questions you want to ask, you can either put that in the chat, or if you want to use your microphone, then just raise your hand and I'll unmute, and you can ask your questions. And also, if you want to share your share your camera, I can also enable that. So let's start. So thank you very much for joining. Today we are going to talk about in this webinar that why you should be learning Power BI in 2024. So that is the topic for today. So before I actually start, let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Abu Bakr Alvi. I'm a professional engineer, a computer engineer. I graduated from NUST in Pakistan in 1999, and I'm in the industry for the last 24 plus years. So I've worked in the public sector for a good about 16 years, and since 2016, I've been working as an independent consultant, primarily around the data analytics space. And my focus for the last 5 years is mainly Power BI. I've also worked in Tableau, but right now I'm totally focused on Power BI and the Power BI stack. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can see my LinkedIn here. You can see, have a look at my data portfolio, and also have a YouTube channel. So primarily, I am working as a Power BI consultant and a trainer. So I conduct trainings for the corporate sector as for the public sector here in Pakistan, as well as across the globe. And I also work as a consultant with a lot of organizations. I've worked with the World Bank. I've worked with a few other organizations in Pakistan, and currently I'm working with a few organizations in the UK and in the Middle East as well. So that was about all about myself. So what we are going to talk about in today's webinar, like I said, I'm going to talk about. I'll try to finish everything up like in 20-25 minutes. Is the agenda of this webinar is that I'm going to talk about that why it is important to learn Power BI. Why Power BI? So that is the first thing. Then, because this webinar is targeted uh, on people who really want to enter the ecosystem and want to become data analyst, and they have a lot of questions regarding Power BI and data analytics in general. So they are very confused that how should we learn Power BI. So I'm going to just share a few tips that how you should start to prepare being a data analyst, and how can you start Power BI. So if you want to learn Power BI, I'm going to talk about that, how you can do that. And then what should be the learning outcome. So this is very important, that learning is one thing, the outcomes is the actual objective. So what should be your learning outcomes, or what you need to do to become a good Power BI developer or good data analyst. And then obviously the question and answers. So you can just put anything during the webinar in the chat, or you can just raise your hand, and I'll answer the questions for you guys. All right. So why learn Power BI? So if you want to really understand why one should learn Power BI, you must have a basic understanding of this very famous sentence that you must have heard at a lot of forums. A lot of people talk about it, that data is the new oil. We hear this sentence quite a lot, but the question is why data is the new oil. So if you have anything to share related to this, just put something in the chat, in the comments. So I see there are just three people right here. Although there are like 40, 45 people registered. So I'm expecting a few people to join, but normally, here it is like this, that a lot of people, they just register for the sake of registering, and very few people show up. So I'm hoping that by the end of this webinar, probably we will have close to like 10 people. But anyways, so whosoever is here, they can, based on their own understanding, they can just put what they feel, that why data is the new oil. And then I'll have a look at the comments. But I just want to know, what is your understanding by from this sentence, that if somebody says that data is the new oil, what do you understand from this sentence, and why? Right? So I'm going to now explain my bit, but I would like you to just, if you have, any thoughts on this sentence, just put that in the chat. So let's have a look at the oil ecosystem. So if we have a look at the oil ecosystem, so basically you have 4 or 5 steps. So in fact, there are 5 steps. So it's all starts from the source from where the oil originates. So we know that the oil can the oil rig can be on land and it can be in the sea. So this is the part where you actually go and you actually extract the oil. Then there is the part from where the oil gets transported through various mechanisms, and it ends up in a central factory or an oil refinery as we call it. And this is the landing area of the raw oil. And here in the oil refinery, there are a lot of processes, physical and chemical processes take place, and then that the finished products or the enriched products, these get transported to various points from where these are used to serve the community or the public. So the most common example is a fuel station where you can go and get the petrol or diesel and other kinds of products that are extracted from the raw version of the oil. So this is how a very simple oil ecosystem looks like. But now, if I want to give a name, I've kind of explained what this whole ecosystem looks like. So if I want to give a name to each of these steps, so I can say that, okay, then the first step, we can say that this is the extraction step. The second step is the ingestion, where we are ingesting everything coming from the oil rig into the oil refinery or the oil factory, and we say that this is the step where the processing takes place. Then is the step where the enrichment takes place, where you actually, after the processing, you enrich the oil and it becomes aviation fuel, petrol, diesel, all kinds of lubricants. And then finally, the point from where it is actually consumed, we call that, okay, this is the point from where the oil is being served, the finished product is being served. So this is how the oil ecosystem works like. Similar to the oil, if we have a look at the data ecosystem or the analytics ecosystem, we have the same 5 steps: extraction, ingestion, processing, enrichment, and serving. And in the case of oil, we had the oil rigs in the land and in the sea, but data can be anywhere. It could be on your computer, it could be on a local server, it could be in the cloud, it could be in the form of a database, it could be an image, it could be a video, it could be a text file, it could be a JSON document, it could be anything. So in case of data, we have not only different sources, but we also have different forms of data. It could be structured, it could be semi-structured, it could be unstructured. Then you actually bring that data to a central processing factory, or you can call it as a data factory, through a process which is similar to the process that we just saw for the oil. So this is called as ingestion. So this is how there are different pipelines, the data pipelines that you must have heard about, that okay, these are the data pipelines. So these data pipelines actually bring this raw data into this central area where we have some kind of a storage, and we have some kind of a processing capability, or a computing capability, and based on the requirements, we basically enrich that data. So either we can just clean that data, perform some basic transformations, and we can just use that. But in most of the cases, we enrich that this data with a few things, like you must have heard about data science, machine learning, uh, artificial intelligence. So these are the different things that actually enrich the data, and then finally it is served in the form of reports, dashboards, websites. It could be anything. So this is how the oil ecosystem is very much, or is very much similar to the data ecosystem or the analytics ecosystem. So now the question is that, in order to experience this, so there is there are a few other things which are different from the oil ecosystem, and are there in the data ecosystem. Most important of important part for in that is that there needs to be some kind of a data governance methodology, and some kind of a security in place. The security in case of data and governance to actually manage all this end-to-end process is very important. Then the way you actually work in this particular area, and in these three areas, there are like two very common methodologies for a layman to understand it. But these are the extraction, transformation, and loading, which is called as ETL, or extraction, loading, and transformation. So I'm not going to talk about these because these are like a very these are very kind of a bit technical. But to understand this whole thing is that we are actually extracting the raw data, and we are want to actually make it useful. We want to actually make it usable. We want to extract the information part out of this raw data. So this is how the end-to-end analytics ecosystem actually works. And obviously within this ecosystem, there are several roles. You must have heard about data scientists, you must have heard about machine learning engineer, a data warehousing engineer, BI developer, data analyst. All of these are the different roles within this ecosystem. But most important part is that how do we actually experience this end-to-end analytics ecosystem? What is the easiest way, or what is the kind of a fastest way where you can experience this end-to-end analytics ecosystem, and then based on your liking and disliking, or based on your requirement, you can actually go and uh, explore one particular area, or maybe if you have a different kind of a role, maybe you can explore all of these areas in a lot of detail. So that brings us to a very important tool, which is called Power BI. So Power BI is a product of Microsoft, and this is a tool using which you can explore or experience this end-to-end analytics ecosystem. And this is a this is a chart that I have pulled from Gartner. So if somebody knows what Gartner is, so Gartner is a company that specializes in benchmarking. It has different technology areas. It conducts a lot of surveys, and based on those surveys, it releases a report annually, and it plots its learnings in a quadrant. This is a quadrant, and they call it the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. So this is the an extract from the 2020 report from the business intelligence tools area. And here you can see that Microsoft is in the leaders quadrant. So that is from 2020. Same is the case in 2021, same is the case in 2022, and same was the case in 2023. So Microsoft is one of the leaders in this particular segment. And once we talk about Microsoft, basically we are talking about Power BI. So there are some other tools also that become a part of this, but primarily it is Power BI, because there are other Power Platform tools like Power Automate and Power Apps, and some of the others. But primarily, once we are talking about BI, we are just talking about the Power BI experience. So Power BI is a business intelligence tool from Microsoft that you can use to actually experience this end-to-end analytics ecosystem. This is another extract that I've just taken from Coursera. So Coursera also publishes this report, which they call as the job skills, or the skills report that they publish every year. So they published this report for in 2023 and they call that the Coursera skills report for 2024. So they published it in December 2023. And here the only tool, or the only you can say the only skill that actually was present in more than one particular area was Power BI. So if you talk about the fastest growing skills, Power BI was there in the top 10. Then the business skill trends for 2024, Power BI was also there. And then the data science, if you are just talking about the data science or the analytics and aside, obviously the Power BI was also there. So it means that Power BI is important for a lot of different ways. It is important not only for the technical people working in data roles, but also for people who are working in business. So if you are a business user, even for you, learning Power BI is very important if you have some kind of a role where you are playing around with real world data. So that was all about Power BI, and I'm going to talk about Power BI in a bit also. But the most important thing is that people ask this question a lot, that how to learn Power BI, how should I learn Power BI? So to learn Power BI, there is it's not something that you can do in a week, or you can do it in a month, or you can do it in a couple of months. So this is a complete learning journey. So this learning journey actually can start if you have I don't think there is any modern day person who hasn't worked in PowerPoint or Microsoft Excel. So somebody in whatever capacity or whatever role they are working in the industry, these are the two tools that everybody, almost everyone has done some kind of work in Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. So this is the starting point. So if you are starting from here, then the next step that you need to take before you actually venture into learning Power BI is that you need to have some basic level understanding of what is SQL. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language, right? So this is the language that deals with that deals with data if they are in databases. Like we are always talk about relational databases, but SQL is the language of databases. So in order to analyze data, most of the time you are going to interact with databases at the back end. Either it's going to be a flat file or it's going to be the database. So these are the two most important tools that you are going to encounter. So learning SQL, having a very basic level understanding of SQL actually helps, although SQL has nothing to do with how Power BI works at a higher level. But it is important that as a data analyst you need to have some kind of an understanding that what are tables, what are the basic concepts like rows and columns and joins and all of this, so that you can actually learn if you have encountered SQL at some point in your career. And then this is the area in this rectangle, that is something that you actually learn in Power BI. And then this actually covers the end-to-end analytics ecosystem, like we're starting from the extraction of data to actually the point where you actually go and deliver your reports and dashboards and gather the insights. So the learning journey starts by having a very basic understanding of data warehousing. So data, you don't have to be a database administrator or a database developer or a data warehousing expert. All you need to know is that what are transactional systems and what are analytical systems. So these are called as OLTP versus OLAP. So online transactional processing and online analytical processing. So which is the basic foundation of how a data warehouse actually works. So you just need to have that kind of an understanding that how data coming in transactional systems can be mapped into analytical systems. And then you start learning Power BI. Your focus on is mainly on and reporting, then data storytelling, then some kind of a domain knowledge is important in which in an area where you're working. Then you can go and do the certifications and build the portfolio. So but this is the area I'm going to expand this area in a bit. So this is how the learning journey actually starts. And once you have actually done these three main bullet points, you are kind of at the end of the basic level. And so, start going into from the basic level into the intermediate level knowledge, right? So if you are able to cover everything that is inside this rectangle, then you are well and truly on your path to become a entry level data analyst, right? So you can enter any role that requires you to be a Power BI data analyst or a data analyst in general. Then obviously we are going to talk about these three four pop points in a bit. But this is how the learning journey actually starts, right? So if I now talk about how you can do that. So there are primarily two ways. Either you can do it on your own, so there is a self learning path, and the other path is that where you actually go and join a cohort in a live environment, some kind of a blended learning experience, with some content is available offline. You do it at your own pace, or you actually go and do it everything in a live environment. So there are a lot of free resources which are available. These are some of the YouTube channels which I actually use a lot for my learning. A lot of the stuff on these YouTube channels is great, and most importantly, it is free. But if you are starting off as a newbie, so I would highly recommend that you go to Enterprise DNA. So enterprise DNA is one of the most well-known learning platforms for Power BI. So there it is, enterprise DNA, and they have these two courses which are absolutely free: Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Power BI and Ultimate Beginner's Guide to DAX. So if you just want to have a very high level understanding of what Power BI is and how do I actually go and learn a Power BI, so you can get a good understanding in 5 hours, where it takes you from all the steps that I actually mentioned in the previous slide. Some people, they have this issue that they actually can't go and do the learning on their own. So this is a very common problem that we face. And so this is a graph that I have taken out from the Coursera report, and here it says that video based courses make it difficult to apply learned skill in the real world. So a lot of people, they actually struggle with the video based courses. They actually just watch the videos, but they struggle to apply whatever they have learned in the video based lectures to real world problems, and they struggle to actually get the motivation to learn something on their own. So for those people, it's always recommended that you actually join a cohort where you have some kind of a live environment, and where you go and actually learn people from a physical or from an online environment, but it is live, where you are actually interacting with the instructor. But whether you do it in a self-learning way, or whether you do it in a cohort-based or kind of a mixed cohort, live plus blended learning environment, these are the four areas that are actually covered in either approach. So you start off by loading and transforming of the data. So this is the ELT or the ETL part, where you actually go and connect to the data source, extract the data, do the transformations like data cleaning, putting everything in a fixed in a fixed kind of a model. This is the area where you actually prepare and plan and do everything. Then there is a second area which is called as a data modeling. So like, remember I said OLTP versus OLAP. So everything in Power BI is actually OLAP. So here we have different kind of data models. So here you actually go and learn about the data modeling. Then once you have done all of this, then you actually have to uh, make computations. You have to actually write the formulas, the things that you actually want to compute or calculate. So this is the third area, which is called as the area of DAX calculations or DAX programming. So DAX is the language that is used in Power BI to actually compute the formula. So DAX stands for data analysis expressions. And finally, once you have done everything, you want to make a report and select the right visualizations and build the dashboards, do the storytelling. So this is the fourth part. So these are the four pillars of Power BI learning, right? So whether you do it on your own or whether you join a live cohort, you are actually covering these five areas. On top of these four pillars, there is the part where you actually learn how to actually share the whatever you have built. So that part is covered as part of the as part of something which actually deals with data governance, security, data sharing, collaboration, all of that. So that is also a part that is important. But in terms of the development, these are the four things. These are the four pillars where you actually go and develop everything. So Power BI actually, like I said, that it is the platform where you can go and experience end-to-end analytics. And the beauty of this platform is that this is absolutely free. You do not have to spend a single penny, and you can experience all of this without spending anything. So there are three essentially parts of Power BI, this tool suite has three major components. So this is the Power BI desktop, where you actually do all the development work. Once you have done all the development, you actually share it to a cloud based portal which is called as Power BI service. And then this cloud based service is used to actually do the governance, security, sharing, collaboration, everything. And there is a mobile counterpart also for the Power BI service, where whatever you can do on a browser in your PC, you can do that inside a mobile app, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone. So this is how the Power BI uh, tools suite look like. Then there are a lot of things that, if you go into the nitty gritties, like I just gave you the four pillars, then there are a lot of things that are covered inside of Power BI. So there is a lot of things that you have to learn, but it is very important to understand that what is the level at which you can say that, okay, now I am prepared to actually go and perform the data analysis. So this is the Power BI end to end diagram. So this is like kind of almost like 10 11 months old, but it is still very relevant because there are a lot of things that keep adding in this diagram. But if you have a look at the areas which are like shaded here, or in this different color, so these are the areas probably where you can say that now, if I learn all of this, like almost 85-90% of the stuff that I've highlighted here, then you are kind of ready, and actually you can go and work in the industry or start working as an independent data consultant. Or if you're already in a data role, then you can comfortably say that, okay, now I am ready to actually be a useful member of the data analytics team. So this is the high level understanding that you need to have. So last bit before I actually now ask you guys to ask the question. So it's very important to actually know what are the learning outcomes. So I have kind of explained why it is important to learn Power BI, how you can do that, but what should be the outcome. So it's not that you just go through the lectures and attend a cohort, and you would say that, okay, now I have done everything. So that's not true. So actually, if you ask me, there are three pillars to actually showcase your Power BI credentials. And the most important one is this first one, where you actually build a Power BI portfolio. So what is the Power BI portfolio? The Power BI portfolio is a collection of end-to-end analytics projects that you have done. So let's say you have done 4, 5, 6 different projects in different domain areas related to, retail, related to finance, related to healthcare, anything. Think of anything that actually generates data. If you have done this, this is probably the most important outcome of your learning. If you have learned Power BI and you haven't built a portfolio, then you would yourself feel that your learning is more theoretical, but you are still unable to actually solve real world problems. So always keep this thing in mind, that you have to actually do end to end projects, and whatever projects you do, you have to make a portfolio of Power BI, of the project of Power BI projects, and then you have to showcase that. So, secondly, especially for newcomers, because there is a lot of competition, a lot of people are like applying for these kind of roles. It's always good to actually get a Microsoft certification, right? Because it kind of verifies that you have learned enough. It kind of tells the employer, or the potential employer that you are looking to, the company that you're looking to join. They also would know that, okay, this guy has been certified by Microsoft. So this is, I would say, not as important as this one, but equally important if you are if you are looking to have a long time, uh, kind of you if you want to join this field for the longer run, then this certification is obviously important. And then finally, the third bit is where you combine both of these and the other skills that you have learned and put that on your CV, resume, and most importantly, LinkedIn. So I have talked about what are the importance of building a portfolio. You have like you can showcase your data analysis, visualization skills. You can say that, okay, I have business acumen because I have done projects in these different domain areas. Your data storytelling skills, your communication skills, the innovation and creation that you can you bring to your data storytelling. A lot of people, they have different ways of approaching a problem. So all of these things. Then obviously the certification is kind of a validation of your technical knowledge. It is globally recognized. Anybody can have a look at it. It improves your credibility and versatility and other stuff. And then obviously putting all of this together in a resume or a LinkedIn or on your CV, that is very important. So this is the actually practical outcome of any Power BI learning. If you are missing out on any of this, then you have just attended a course or a class or something like that. And then there is a guy who is who is one of my connections in LinkedIn, he actually shared his own experience. A lot of people, they actually believe that they have to actually apply for the job. So this is, I know him personally, Pankaj. He actually put a post a few, I think a few months back, and he actually in this post says that a lot of people actually, by just looking at his portfolio, they approached him directly that, okay, we have found your portfolio interesting, and we want to actually offer you a project, or we want to employ you for a different kind of role within different industries. So this is something, and he's not alone. There are so many other people whom I know personally, that it is very important that if you build a portfolio and you have a good network, then people actually come to you instead of you going and applying to the different jobs. People actually look for these kind of resources, and they are very eager to have them as part of their team. And then obviously, I'm not going to talk about this part because this is the certification. So this is how the Microsoft has actually designed this course, and these are the different parts of this course. So I'm not going to skip. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to just skip that. So I'm going to just towards the end, I'm just going to say that, okay, this was the part that should be covered in whatever way you are learning Power BI. And once you have done this, then by the end of this, you should be able to get the certification, right? So this box actually covers the basic level certification of Power BI. Then there is a new certification that has come up, and if you have some understanding of Python, especially some of the machine learning concepts or some of the things that you can do in Python, and perform certain operations that are also covered here, and some concept of how things work in the cloud, then you can go and you can actually start thinking about clearing this DP 600 certification. So this is a certification that brings in some of the data engineering skills along with the data analysis skills that you have also learned. Some part of the machine learning is also important, but not much. And if you are looking for the long run, then if you learn data strategy, data governance, and how to actually employ Power BI at an enterprise level, you can actually go and do the DP 500 certification, which is the enterprise Azure analyst, which is probably the I would say, although these are the same level, but I would say that this requires some kind of more experience in the industry. But this is how the learning journey within Power BI looks like at the moment. So, and obviously, the part which is not covered, you cover all of these parts as you go and learn Power BI, how, especially this part where you learn about Power Platform. So the Power Platform is something, if you just stay within Power Platform, you are good to go, and you can work for in so many roles: Power Apps, Power Pages, Power Automate, all of these tools. So this is the starting point. So if once you understand what the end-to-end analytics system is, then you can also understand the power of the Power Apps, the automation which is required in the industry, how it actually links to the analytics ecosystem. So all of that. So if you want to actually go and learn Power BI and clear the PL 300 certification, I also offer this. So if somebody is interested, I can put that in at the in the chat. So if somebody is like willing to learn PL 300, willing to learn Power BI and clear the PL 300 certification, I also offer this course. So I can put the link to the in the chat. So that's probably all from my side.